Hello and welcome to SatTV Week, the news programme for the international satellite industry. In this week's programme, Carrie-Anne has the latest news, Brian Dolby of Proactive PR talks about the importance of PR, Richard Hooper talks to Gil Elaney, Vice President of Marketing at Spacecom, and Tricia looks at the latest launch news. But first, here's Carrie-Anne with the news headlines.
The number of channels broadcasting through Eutelsat satellites hit the milestone of 4,000 at the end of 2011. This new landmark reflects almost 30 years of uninterrupted channel growth since the first TV signals were broadcast in Europe from Eutelsat's communication satellites. Orbit has been selected by STech.com, a Russian space company, to supply a commercial ground station solution to support dual communication with LEO and GEO satellites. The total value of the contract is estimated at $800,000. To overcome the limited size of the ground station, which cannot accommodate separate X-band and C-band antennas, Orbit tailored an innovative solution that incorporates both bands in a single 5.5 metre antenna, cutting the ground station's size in half and dramatically reducing its cost. Skylogic has signed a distribution agreement with Nordnet. Using Skylogic's two-way satellite broadband service, Nordnet has launched triple-play services in France, delivering 10 megabits per second download speeds for consumers and businesses. Nordnet's choice of two-way underscores its ambition to leverage the highest-performing satellite services to respond to demand for broadband from consumers and businesses unserved or underserved by ADSL.
Earlier this week, SatTV met with Brian Dolby of Proactive PR and asked how PR can help companies attending exhibitions like Communicasia.
Now, Brian, tell me a little bit more about what Proactive PR does.
We're an international multimedia public relations consultancy that really focuses on technology. In fact, we already work in the satellite space, but we also work in optical components, mobile, broadband, all different areas across telecommunications, really.
Now, PR seems like an easy thing, but clearly it isn't, and companies do need assistance in promoting their products and corporate message. How do you go about that?
Well, the good thing about PR, it's really third-party endorsement. If you actually promote material through other marketing aspects, people know it's you doing it. What's good about PR is getting journalists to give your message out through their outlets, which are read by the trade press. So there's a knack to it, and particularly in this current world where everything's going internet and instant, you need to be ready with the right message at the right time for the right audience.
Now, clearly companies are cutting costs, but PR is very important. How do you convince them that they need PR?
Well, it's the most cost-effective part of the marketing mix. I'm a PR man, you'd expect me to say that. But essentially it comes back to what I've just said in a way, because articles that appear in the independent media are very, very powerful. And one of the things that we try and do is to make sure that once our clients have that exposure, that they use it as part of their own marketing. Also, what we try and do is make sure that companies are going to major shows such as Communicasia in Singapore. They've already spent considerably on hotels, the stand, flying out there. What we try and do is to make sure that any new products and solutions that they're launching, that the visitors to the show, and there's something like 50,000 in the case of Communicasia, are aware that if they go to that event they will see something new from that company. So we're maximising the footfall that they can achieve for their investment in the event.
Now here's Tricia with the launch news.
The first Vega lightweight launcher is set to go on February the 9th from the spaceport in French Guiana. The maiden flight will be performed under the European Space Agency and will qualify the overall Vega system, including the launcher, ground infrastructure and operations from the launch campaign to payload delivery in orbit. If successful, the rocket will join Arianespace's launcher family at the spaceport, which already consists of the heavy lift Ariane 5 and the medium lift Soyuz. During the mission, Vega's Avon 4th stage will first reach a circular orbit at an altitude of 1,450 kilometres and an inclination of 70 degrees to release the Italian Lars Laser Relativity satellite, which is the flight's main passenger. A further 8 satellites will be launched on the flight, 7 CubeSats and a 12.5 kilogram technology demonstrator microsatellite. Roscosmos, Russia's federal space agency, has announced that the planned launch to take a new crew to the ISS has been postponed by at least a month after an air leak was found in the re-entry vehicle of the Soyuz TMA-04M rocket.
And finally, Richard caught up with Gil Alaney of Spacecom to ask about the latest news on the Amos 5 satellite.
Now, with regards to Amos 5, I believe it's going to target Africa as one of its key selling points. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Amos 5 is focusing on Africa. It has a huge C-band coverage, Pan-African C-band coverage from the southern parts of Africa to the northern parts of Europe. So it covers Africa in its entirety with excellent connectivity to Europe and the Middle East. Main services that we witness now in Africa are where data services for broadband, ISPs, telcos, but also broadcast services. We're witnessing more and more these days. On top of the C-band coverage, we have 3 regional KU beams. One is covering French-speaking Africa, the other one is covering SADC, Southern Africa region, and the third one is covering Central Africa, English-speaking Africa. So we basically targeted our KU coverage also to cover all of Africa with focus on the Francophone, English-speaking, and SADC areas. And we also start to see growth in the need for KU in Africa. For broadcast services, of course, but also for data and backhaul services as well.
Gil, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's all for this week. Thanks for watching.